Goodbye Scarlett, Microsoft just announced the Xbox Series X. What's up everybody, Brad here, and Microsoft pulled a rabbit out of the hat this evening. They announced the Xbox Series X, which is Project Scarlett, or probably what we all know as Anaconda, the next generation Xbox that will be arriving holiday 2020. This was a surprise on many different fronts. Phil Spencer penned a blog post. They announced it at the Game Awards show, and so I'm going to run the clips that show off the new console on a loop because that is what you're here for, but we're going to talk through some things because there's some things to take that you're going to want to pay attention to. So it's going to be called the Xbox Series X. This is the new console that is going to arriving holiday of 2020, along with that new design, which yes, it is that cube shape. We're hearing some more about the actual specs. Phil Spencer's penned that blog post, and it's going to be 4 times more powerful than the Xbox One X. Now, they don't give us a raw number, and you can't just take the performance output of the Xbox One X and multiply it by 4. I suspect that there's some things like on the storage side and some of the other graphics side that kind of muck that up a bit, but it is significantly more powerful than the Xbox One X, and boldly he is claiming that this is going to be the most powerful console ever, which makes me think that he knows what the PlayStation 5 specs are, and that's why they're saying the Xbox One X is going to be the most powerful console ever, and I quote, will set a new bar for performance. The new console will support both horizontal and vertical orientation, and it was designed, as they say, in the quietest and most efficient way possible. It's definitely got an industrial design look. It's not going to be for everybody. I'm really curious to know the actual specs to see, hey, how's this thing going to fit into a traditional media cabinet? But for now, let's just take it in kind of here. And you can obviously see that it does appear that there is a disk drive. And also, along with the new console, they're updating the controller. If you look closely at it, you're going to see a couple things right away. They said that they changed the shape just a little bit, but more importantly, there's a new share button, which is a pretty big deal, and that the D-pad, if you look at it closely, is going to look a lot like the one from the Elite V2. And they actually say, hey, it was derived from the Elite V2. And here's the big deal, and I've been harping on this for a while. The console is going to support 4K games at 60 frames per second with a possibility, they are saying, a possibility of up to 120 frames per second, including support for variable refresh rate and 8K capability. The CPU in the console is Zen 2 based and supports Microsoft's patented variable rate shader technology, and will also allow developers to get more out of the Xbox Series X GPU and CPU. And they say that with the SSD and all of this technology, they have virtually eliminated load times. That is not all that surprising, but this was a big deal because Microsoft actually pulled this out much earlier than I thought they would. Now, there are a ton of things we don't know yet. We don't know all the connectivity options yet. We don't know what kind of ports are on the back of the device, although we could make some good guesses. Obviously, there's going to be HDMI, there's probably going to be an Ethernet, there's probably going to be Wi-Fi 6 support, I hope. We don't know pricing, obviously. We don't know when it is going to arrive. It's only going to show up in holiday 2020. Now, Microsoft is saying, by the way, they are saying that all the video, like the in-game footage that you are seeing there, was rendered on the console. So it looks like this thing is going to be a beast on paper. I mean, it's effectively a Zen 2 customized PC for the gaming console for the Xbox Series X. Now, I do find it interesting that they're calling it Series X, by the way, because that implies that maybe there's more to it. Is there something else besides Series X? Is there a Series Y? Is there a Series Z? What exactly does this mean? Now, Microsoft has been using X on a lot of different things. They have the Surface Pro X, they have Windows 10 X, and now we have Series X. They're using this name across a bunch of different products, so it's really interesting to see how they are going to evolve this and adapt it. It does look very much like a sort of traditional Xbox, if you will. There's the traditional, what I mean by that, the Xbox logo doesn't appear to have changed that much. It's backlit, and that controller does look pretty good, which reminds me, by the way, if you do have an Elite V2, it will work with this console. And then other things to note, there's this mesh design, which appears to have a green light at the top, by the way. And so I'll be curious to see if they use that green light, or what appears to be a green light, in any unique ways. They could use it as some sort of indicator, although it does appear that it would be hard to see. But it is very much a cube style design, and they have this tagline of "Power Your Dreams." That's a pretty bold statement. I think Microsoft is really confident that they have the best next gen console based on the language and everything that they are talking about here. This was a really, really good good maneuver by Microsoft. I mean, I don't think really anybody was expecting this at this time. It's just so early, but the fact that we know that 4K 60 frames per second is going to be the minimum is really, really good. I think that just kind of sets the baseline that, hey, even though it's Zen 2, because I think there's going to be some people saying, hey, why isn't this Zen 3? But you got to remember how long these things take to materialize and mature. And by the time it does launch here, Zen 3 will obviously be much more ubiquitous out in the marketplace. That being said, 4K 60 frames per second up to 120 frames per second is fantastic. So there you go, guys. Microsoft pulling a rabbit out of the hat for us here this evening, and I hope you like the holiday attire, although I suspect that knowing YouTube, this video will show up at random times of the year, but it is middle of December, and I'm wearing my Microsoft ugly sweater. So there you go. That is Xbox Series X, our first look at the console. We're going to have a lot more analysis and information later, but wanted to bring that news to you as soon as it happened.